There's such a misconception of who I am as a person. If I need to be the villain, let me be the best villain I can be.
Sage Steele, a pioneer female journalist.
She's outspoken, controversial.
One of the only dissenting voices out there in mainstream media.
Matthew Barnes,
I've been summoned.
welcome to my home.
Thank you, thank you.
Hi.
Having you.
Okay, finally, well, look, we almost had to
Almost.
lift up the light. You're definitely the tallest person we've had here. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I feel good about that.
I haven't seen you in person forever.
It's been a minute. How are you?
Years.
Yes.
In person.
Yes.
But then I kind of feel like the live Sports Center hits count.
While I was there. I'm not there anymore either.
We have even more in
There we
common.
go.
Exactly.
There you go.
Back in the day, though, right?
Yeah.
Because it went from playing, and then when did you actually join ESPN?
Oh man, I want to say 19 maybe.
feel like-
I think I had like about a good 3.5, 4 year run.
Yeah.
Had a blast, loved it.
That's fine.
Yeah, it was.
You cared. Like, I could feel that.
Yeah,
like when
it
you're
was
talking.
fun because, Sage, to be honest with you, I had no idea, like, media and athletes, they don't really mix too much. And it was kind of at a time where obviously there were some athletes that cross over, but it wasn't as saturated as it
Yes.
is now, so.
Okay, hold that thought.
Okay.
We're going to go there. Socks, fuzzy socks.
I get to wear some?
Oh, you kind of have to, or else I'm going to challenge your manhood.
I'm ready.
Yes. So the thing is, like, whenever I get my warm fuzzy socks on, then it's like truth serum.
Okay.
So you can really pick. We've had people, manly men pick like fuzzy pink things.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the
Or you
fuzzy
could like
pink.
this matches too,
I
but
don't
that's
care
kind of
about matching.
boring.
Like, I'm a dad. I like to do wild and crazy weird stuff.
Look, wait, show them. Look at show that to one of the cameras. Look
eyeballs.
at that one.
I'm gonna tuck my pants in.
Yes, so good.
I like the fuzzy sock game.
It's just like I'm always cold, and that's part of the reason.
Has anyone put their naked feet in here is the question.
Well, of course.
Okay, I'm just
Well,
asking.
no, because you get to keep them. I don't want them
okay.
back.
Oh, okay. I thought that was the recycled socks bin. I get to take these home. You're trying to tell me.
Listen, big budget on the Sage
Hey,
Steele show. You get to take them
I'm
home
gonna
with
walk
you.
in with these. The kids are gonna flip out. They might fight over these.
I know. Okay, on that note, I can't match. Yeah, that's what we'll do. But I'm gonna go right over too. So, okay, I love the fact, and it's not Christmas, but
I feel a lot more comfortable now. Like, almost
See?
take a nap.
listen, don't copy. This
No,
is my
this
thing
is
for
you.
my show.
Yeah,
Don't steal it.
I don't think these will work on all the smoke. To be honest with you.
Actually, smoke a little first, and then it'll
There
work.
you go.
Then it totally would.
Anything works then.
Those are beautiful.
Thank you.
It makes me so happy. Thank you for buying in.
No problem.
But yeah, a couple people, I'm like, okay, over, under, are they going to say yes or no to putting on the socks?
I like
And
it. I think it's fun.
Pretty much everybody has, unless somebody like physically older isn't able to do it. But like if you can't do it, you're not that old. I know you played and basketball's
good.
hard, but like
I'm
we're
good.
in.
I came out unscathed.
You kind of did.
I got lucky. I had one minor meniscus when I was with the Lakers in 10, but besides that, nothing. Blessed.
Yeah, that big time, especially when, you know who I was talking to recently because of talking about his book is Grant Hill.
Oh, gee. Oh, man.
Like an all-world talent whose body failed him, basically.
He almost-
And medical teams failed him too.
People don't know he almost had his foot amputated or his ankle high.
Exactly. People have no idea what happened. And him pushing through that in order to try to win and lead and all that pressure he had. Like,
And also give money back too. Like he tried to give money. Like he just wanted, I mean, Sage, you've been around the game for a long time. There's very few like real genuine, there's good guys, but Grant is different. Like Grant is just one of those stand-up, great, I got a chance to play with him in Phoenix and the Clippers, and he was my favorite player growing up. So I don't really get starstruck, but I'm like, this is G Hill. Like he kind of made me like, so.
And so classy, on and off the court. But it's heartbreaking as a fan to have watched that. And it's like, gosh, look at what he did. And after that, and
Still.
pushing himself to come
like
back.
17 or 18 years still. And
Yeah, he's in pain to this day.
I believe it.
You know? So yes, to you, this is about you though. So blessed. Here's the best part though. Like, I want to talk basketball, but you're on the dark side now.
I have been in the sun a little bit.
No, I don't mean that. With like the media.
Yeah.
And in a really cool way. Much better than the true journalists, right? Who are trained to talk to you our whole lives. But
I still respect that though, but go ahead.
yeah, well, no, I just think it's been really cool to watch your evolution, from a player to this. And like, you're a true entrepreneur. Your hands are in everything now. Can we recap?
Yeah.
So all the smoke.
All the smoke is really, I mean, outside of that, I've made investments. I was super doing a bunch of stuff. ESPN, Sacramento Kings, LA Clippers. Like I've cut all that out because all the smoke went from a award-winning podcast into a whole entire production
So
company.
do you have any advice for me, by the way?
Is that what you're trying to
Award-winning?
build? Oh, no. I mean, Sage, you've been great. You know, I've been watching you on TV for a long time. It's just being authentically yourself.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously we spoke off camera to just kind of being more yourself and
just easier,
standing
isn't
on
it?
what, you know, standing on what you believe in and not allowing the bullshit to kind of, at sometimes we kind of have to go with the bullshit. But at some point, you know, especially you for how many years you put in, like, you're like, enough with the bullshit.
Done.
So, yeah.
Done. Yeah. But I do think you're right. And with Steven Jackson and just your crew, like you're not going to not be yourselves.
Yeah, no choice.
And oh, by the way, people see through that.
Yeah, I mean, Sage, to be honest with you, like I said, no intention on coming into the media space, but I think why I've been able to succeed is one, I definitely take it serious and I do my homework, but just authentically myself, unapologetically myself, and that's what I was on the court, and that's why some people hated me and some people loved me because I was always me, but I think why I've been able to maneuver in this space and have success in this space is because I'm still myself, just using more of my voice instead of flagrant fouling people. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
You know, the investment part though, I mean, the cannabis stuff.
Cannabis, yeah. Probably the biggest, shout out Old Vine, probably the biggest black flower company in California. Our client list is incredible, from the Carters to Oprah to Netflix to, so that, I have a couple health bars in my hometown, Northern California, called Vibe Health Bar. So kind of our version of Starbucks meets a juice shop,
Cool.
kind of healthy eats and a place where the younger generation can come and chill and get some healthy food. What else am I in? Cannabis.
And then your production company is a
Production
whole,
company is
right?
everything. That's that's been a blessing. We broke ground January 1st this year. Obviously, Paramount came in and kind of took Showtime over and wasn't necessarily into our sector. You know, they let boxing go, they let some of their sports go. So we kind of saw this coming. And I was able to, take a few people from over there and a few, person from ESPN and someone from Netflix and just a good a group of people, and we're able to build all the Smoke Productions. So we just launched Q1, or January 1, and we launched 5 shows Q1. All of them are doing well. Big time partnership with DraftKings, multi-million-dollar deal with DraftKings. So it really, I had my hands in a lot of different things until I kind of found, I think this is my calling right here.
And now you can kind of narrow your focus.
Yes.
And plus, when someone like that invests in you,
That's dope.
that's a big deal.
Well, I mean, I never thought I'd be making basketball money talking and being creative.
That was what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you have a vision when you're close to retiring and then
Yes.
retiring.
Yeah.
And then you dipped your toe in television and did a great job with ESPN, honestly. But
you.
then I just feel like, what haven't you touched yet? And so where does that come from? Has there always been this curiosity, or did it just happen?
I was a role player during my time, Sage, and although the money was good, it wasn't as good as it is now. So, I made good
Really?
money. Yeah.
You're making more now.
Yeah, I'm making more I would say my company is making more. I'm taking my part because I'm building a company, so
Sure.
I'm not taking as much as I should. But yeah, no, the deal I just signed was bigger than a deal I signed in the NBA. But just kind of wanting to, I knew I retired 15 years, but I still had 2 years on my deal. So I retired at 17 after we won a championship with Golden State, and kind of gave myself a 2-year window because I was still being played by the league. So like, what's next? What do you want to do? Cannabis was the first thing I jumped into. I wanted to be the shield for current players and really push the line with the NBA and the NBPA about researching this plan and understanding that they'll pump us full of whatever to get us back on the court, but want to take our careers or fine us or suspend us for smoking cannabis. So I like to say myself and Al Harrington were tiny, had a little bit of a changing of the guards. So now they're not testing, for cannabis anymore. So that was my first and foremost kind of North Star out the league. I wanted to attack that, and I think we did. And then a friend of mine kept, you were so well-spoken when you were interviewed, during your career, you should try media. I'm like, nah, I'm cool. Because, there's kind of just either you like it or you don't. And I had a lot of respect for people who were in it, but I just wasn't a huge fan of it until I got to do it. And quickly fell in love with it and started studying it and started doing well and got great opportunities to work with, people like ESPN and Fox and Sacramento Kings and the Clippers, and all that kind of culminated to all the smoke and kind of learning the behind the business of the actual show to be able to turn that one show into a whole entire company.
Okay, backtrack a second on the cannabis, because it's interesting. It's not like the NBA made an announcement,
No,
right?
and that's what they
Or
never needed to
stopped
do.
Exactly. But it is so telling, because that is huge. That is a victory.
Huge, huge, huge. And I think I obviously get both sides, because it is such a family sport that you never want to promote to these young kids that smoke weed. I don't do that. I've been an advocate for a long time, smoking for a long time. I don't promote to young kids to smoke weed. So I don't think that was ever our mission. Our mission was just stop testing for it. We don't have to talk about it. What's understood doesn't have to be explained. They stopped testing for it. But I'll tell you a story. I remember I was, my last few years, I was in the program. And I remember I was talking to the guys, and there's 420 guys roughly in the league. Said over half the league was in the program for cannabis. Half
When you
the
say in the
NBA.
program,
It's a pro. So if you get caught with cannabis in your system through our 4 random drug tests, you get put in a program for 30, 60, 90, somewhere around that time, depending on how many times you've been popped. You get 3 strikes. 3 strikes is like a 5-game suspension, and then you'll talk about it on SportsCenter. So I was on like 2.5, 2.75. So I was in that program during my time. But towards the end of my career, I didn't really care. I was just like, this is what I'm going to do, and it is what it is. But I was talking to someone who was kind of running the program, just like, roughly. He couldn't obviously tell me who was in there. I was like, how many people are in the program? He's like, man, half the league. I'm like, for what? Cannabis. I was like, shit.
half the league.
Half the league.
You think people would be surprised at some of the people in that half?
Oh. I had an amazing teammate who was absolutely amazing, winning championships and finals MVPs, and he was in the program. And I'm just like, if people knew, like you said, the names that were in that, I think that alone would change the stigma. But obviously we've progressed, and we don't have to get into the people who were in there. The league understands what it is, and feels like athletes and people alike feel like there's benefits there. And
Do you think that it'll get to that point where people are like more okay talking about it publicly and saying, yes, and here's my why, and I'm not trying to influence you?
I think that's the key, is the why. I even talked to Snoop about the why, you know what I mean? Because for so long, he was just known for rapping and smoking. And I'm just, but why do you do it? You know what I mean? Like, does it get you in the mood? Does it help you focus? Does it help you get your thoughts together? Like, I think you can't argue with anybody's why. This is why it is helpful. I mean, for me, my dad was in the streets, so I came from a drug-filled childhood, abuse, violence. I seen it all. And, I tried it at 14. The first time got a headache, but I wasn't a quitter. Gave it another try and just kind of found that it is help me focus, help me sleep, help me just relax at times. And although I didn't I knew how it made me feel, it wasn't government funding for cannabis research up until 6 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years. It was always for the negative effects. There was nothing for the positive effects. So kind of when that wave started changing and they started, oh, this is what it does for you, and this is what it does for you, and it was doing that for me, but there was just no backing for me, to say this is what it actually does. So it was very beneficial for me. And I think to get to your point, I think it's still, I think it's understand that athletes doing now, but it's still kind of, don't talk because you don't know how your brand, if you're a big star, you don't know how your brand partnerships will react to that, which they shouldn't really react considering what some of them are probably doing behind the scenes. But I think we're headed there, though, just to really be open with it. And like you said, my why of why I do it, I think we're within the next 3 to 5 years of kind of everyone accepting it, I think.
And then, for the leagues to maybe be more open about it. I don't know. Listen, everybody's okay, with certain alcohol advertisements. And
cigarettes, alcohol, it's crazy what hard alcohol, what can be advertised, or even, like our trainers are tied in with all, big pharma, pumping us full of Toradol and all these kind of stuffs that are masking one thing and causing long-term effects on the other side. But wouldn't it be great to see, like, a doctor handing out, psychedelics in a gummy to help you sleep, or THC balance with the CBD to help this and do that, instead of, all these pills from, big pharma.
I mean, more natural things, yeah. But, to me, and yes, it goes back to, the COVID stuff and what was shared with us, what was not, what was hidden. There's a whole lot, all the money involved with Big Pharma. Trust the science. Oh, wait, but not now. Like
all these side effects that they're talking about now were, and you and I, we were almost forced to do it if we wanted to keep our jobs at the time.
I was forced to do it to keep my job,
So same thing with me. The Showtime and ESPN, you guys want to work, you got to get this, them, just like, damn.
So you did it.
I did it.
How'd you feel about that?
I just did. I think we just didn't know enough. It was so fast for this pandemic to hit, and all of a sudden, within the first 4 to 6 months, they have something that's going to keep you safe from it. Like, to me, that's just it sounds foolish, to be honest with you. But like I said, sometimes you have to go with the bullshit, and I feel like that was part of the bullshit.
Listen, that's all I said too. Was I wasn't anti the shot. It was like, I just need more time. And a quick Google search taught me that it's like 6 to 9 years before the FDA approves a vaccine. And we're all of a sudden, and then it's political, and then, okay, if Trump says do it, then it's evil. But if Biden says it and you don't, then you're evil. And like, then you go, wait, this just isn't consistent. All I want is truth and consistency. And all I wanted to do was wait. I'm like, can you give me 6 months? Because I feel like there'll be more research. And it was, no, September 30th, 2021, or you're out. And so I did it to keep my job. I need my job and I love my job. And I think that's the big picture for me. It was one of the reasons why I stood up and ended up leaving. But the big picture is people just want facts. Then let me make my own decision based on my body.
I feel like we were the guinea pigs of this, whatever they put in us. We were the guinea pigs. Like, normally we don't have to be the guinea pigs, but we were a guinea pig. And we don't know how, especially, I'm mid-40s now. I just turned 44 a couple weeks ago. It's just like, how's this going to affect me? Is it, these aches that I'm starting to have all of a sudden, or this, or the headaches I'm starting to get all of a sudden? Is it from, you know what I mean? So it's just like, what is just me getting old, or is it, something I took 2 shots. I almost took the third.
So the main one and then one booster. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
In order to keep my job, again.
In order to keep my job.
It's literally all it was, yeah. But I think, so many people, maybe the silver lining is that people are doing more research and not just taking orders from anybody and learning, especially if it's not just you and you have a family and you have kids and we're making decisions for them too.
Yeah.
I do think that if there's a next time, which there probably will be, that I don't believe any of it was an accident. That's a topic for another show, or maybe a sip before.
Cheers to that.
Thank you. We will continue that.
Right. But to be honest with you, Sage, now, I don't even want to know if there's bad stuff in it. Because it's in my body now.
It's already there.
What can I do now?
Well, although I always say, okay, it's been that long and I haven't had a booster in 2 years, so it's got to be out of me by now. Wouldn't I feel it by now?
I would hope.
Like, that's the hope. And I think, again, I was never a conspiracy theorist. I just want truth.
More
and when I
information.
see lies, immediately then you go, well, what else have you lied to me about? I think that's all it is. And so this goes full circle with your conversation with the NBA and with all sports leagues where, okay, yes, you matter, Matt Barnes, you matter. Thanks for your service, you're out, you're next. We're trading you, take this shot, get back on the court.
The business.
It's the business side of it, which is why it's beautiful what you've done now to take your experiences and actually, don't you think you're helping people?
I think so. I mean, my goal to this is put faces to voices. I think for so long we've had other people tell our stories. Whether you're an athlete, whether you're black, whether you're brown, whatever you may be, there's been other people telling our stories. So my goal coming out of this was now the show goals were to humanize and let everyone know to see the other side of these people that I'm interviewing. The company side is to, first of all, kind of be an incubator, almost a Keenan Ivory Reigns, where I want to find the next talent. I want to find the next producers, directors. I want to kind of make a system where I'm bringing people in, staying young, staying hip to what's going on, but then also telling great stories. So I do feel like from that standpoint, I'm giving a lot of people voices. I mean, Paul Pierce is with us, Rachel Nichols is with us, DeMarcus Cousins with us. We just signed Rajon Rondo, Isaiah Thomas, the smaller Isaiah Thomas, him. About to do something with Trevor Ariza, and then we have a couple people in different sports that I can't yet mention because it's not sealed. But we're going diversifying in sports, and then not only just sports, culture, music. Working on a show for DJ Quick and Warren G. So my thing is just really giving people voices to kind of tell their stories, their experiences, and have these unique conversations that someone like an ESPN wouldn't necessarily get, or a Fox Sports wouldn't necessarily get, because I know as an athlete, we don't feel as comfortable going up there and having a conversation on camera at a desk than I do with, fuzzy pink socks, sitting on the sofa.
Exactly. Well, so that's the C word is the word, the conversation. Let me clarify. Is the what my why is behind this, because I've always loved, even if I only had like a 3-minute segment with you on SportsCenter, there were times where I think I would try to reach out to you and be like, no, ask Matt, like, what does he want to talk about? Because as the analyst, as the expert that was never in the huddle, like, I want to know, okay, what did you see here and why, and what's your takeaway? When we give you the ability to tell the story from what you saw in a game, which it can be, that it doesn't have to be your life story and what happened in the hood. It can be, there was a story from that Warriors-Kings game last night. And like,
it resonated.
Yes. And
this is why.
Exactly. And that is what I think brings people in. That's what's been lacking and missing. And I remember trying to do that with you and everybody I spoke with, because when it's conversational, you kind of forget the camera's there. And it's like,
let your guard down.
You let your guard down.
It's kind of more free-willing. I mean, one of my favorite things from All the Smoke is when people say, look, I've never said this before. I'm like, yes, from a standpoint, okay, we're about to get a cool story, but they feel comfortable enough to share something like that with us.
Exactly. And that's when it's like, because when people share their stories, I've been talking about this for years now, and it sometimes gets me choked up because it's so important. It's helped me in my life professionally and personally through a lot of controversy, through other stuff. When people are comfortable and share and have a conversation and are vulnerable, it is quite often therapeutic to get it out.
Yes.
But when someone like you, or any fill in the blank name of the people that you work with, has that courage sometimes to share it on camera, you don't know who you're helping at home.
Oh, man. I was just having this conversation maybe 2 days ago about, my vulnerability and being a tough guy in the NBA, but just being so open to share via social media once I retired. And obviously there's some things I will keep private, but for the most part, for the exact reason you said, how many people you're helping.
Yes.
I went through a very public divorce and custody battle, and I kind of let it go on social media, and people are like, man, you don't understand. I've been trying to do this with my kids, or this has happened, and the lawyer said, and it just kind of sparks conversation. It humanizes us as individuals first and foremost, but it's a lot of conversation. Just because, you were on SportsCenter for 15 plus years, or I played in the NBA 15 plus years, like, we're still regular people, and we go through the same divorce, sick kids growing up, and how can you relate to our audience? And that's why I do share. That's why I am vulnerable. That's why I am really open, just because I feel like me talking about it or putting on someone's mind, like, hey, I'm going through the same shit, hang in there.
And then us too, because even though you're on that TV screen, like, you feel like sometimes you have to keep it perfect and whatever, and then you're like, screw it, it's just not worth it. When did you make that change to kind of let it go?
To be honest with you, Sage, like, again, ESPN was dope, but I know I'm not a Disney walk the straight line kind of guy. Never been. So it was good to kind of challenge myself to stay on that and not slip with cuss words every once in a while, and I did sometimes.
You did a great job, actually.
But I just knew that wasn't necessarily who I am. That's a part of me, but it's not who I am. So it wasn't necessarily letting it go, because I want to say, like, every time and every screen I've been on, I've stayed true. Whether I'm not using cuss words to get my point across or not, it doesn't really matter. But I felt like I've always been me, but I just knew there was a time where, now, me personally, like, I'm getting paid great money for my ideas and my opinions, so why give that to ESPN, or why give that to the Kings, or give that to other things, when I can give that to my company and help my company grow?
It's beautiful. But doesn't it still take a little bit of courage to fully go there?
I think so. I mean, I look at it different ways now, obviously, as someone who's hosting and being creative with the show, but then someone who's also the CEO of a company and creating a bunch of shows. You know what I mean? Like, what is our direction? What is our brand identity? What kind of stories are we going to tell? What is kind of going to be our niche? So I think I look at it from different perspectives when I'm doing different things that I'm doing. When I'm doing a host of All the Smoke, I'm looking at it one way. When I'm looking at the CEO of All the Smoke Productions, I'm looking at it as a whole different way.
It's interesting. Some of the names that you mentioned that you've brought on are unique personalities.
Yes.
Boogie Cousins.
Yes.
Rondo.
Yeah.
Isaiah in his own unique way. Isaiah Thomas, the short one, the little guy, as we say.
Right.
And is that intentional? Like, what's behind that? Because I feel like you guys gel in that way too.
Right.
We're being a little controversial.
Yeah, misunderstood, controversial, just to really, and again, to me, you don't have to be a superstar. You can be, to me, if you can talk, no matter what your accolades are. Paul Pierce is a Hall of Famer, and he kind of got a raw deal from ESPN, but I always thought Paul was really talented. Like, he may say some crazy shit every once in a while, but Paul is funny. And the one thing about Paul is he's going to speak his mind. He's not afraid that who he says it about, and you either or you respect it, and I respect it. I don't always agree with what he says, but I love Paul. You know what I mean?
I remember when that video came out and why he got let go, and I'm sitting there going,
you can't do that there.
Paul, what?
Can't do that there.
No, but honestly, where can you in any corporate
I
America,
agree.
television, whatever? And I'm not defending ESPN. Let me tell you, I'm not defending them in any way. However, if I'm a leader of a company, and then I'm like, that, you know what that is? Do what you want. That's a judgment call where you decide to do an Instagram live with a bunch of women around you smoking pot. Like,
bad luck.
Paul, I literally was sitting there going, Paul.
No, you did. You know what I mean? Like I said, it was. I said raw deal from a standpoint of just we're in a different day and age where all the things he did are acceptable. The fact that he lumped them all into one and wanted to put a camera on it, I mean, that's on P, and I think P knows that.
Do it all just without the camera.
Yeah, just leave the cameras alone.
Good.
You don't have to tell on yourself. I mean, someone like Ja, you know, not to skip around or even bring it, but he was telling on himself. Like, there's stuff that you can, and I'm not to each his own. But you don't tell on yourself. Well, you get into that
whole role model thing, and Paul was long retired. Ja's a completely different story, right? And then it happens more than once after you've been. So then you look at it almost from a parent's perspective, which you and I both are. You've got like 22 kids now, which we're gonna get into because that's the best part about Matt Barnes, I think. But like, okay, from a leadership perspective, you have to say, I love you and what you're doing, and you do you. Don't be an idiot. And tell on yourself, like you said.
And then, again, I hope, if we're going to talk about Ja, I'm sure he's learned. And I know Paul's learned. Even at our older age, like, we still, like, we're not perfect. You know, no one's perfect. You're still going to make mistakes. But, you know, as long as you said they don't continue to happen, like.
And we learn.
You learn from them.
Evolve, exactly. One of the things that I loved the first time I met you, and I don't remember where it was actually, you were still playing, but there was some event and it was backstage somewhere, I don't know. And you had your boys with you, and I'm like, oh, you know, twin boys who are how old now?
15.
Oh my gosh.
Mustaches, girlfriends, I don't like it. But go ahead.
Mustaches and girlfriends.
I don't like it.
The girlfriend thing, listen, you know, those girls, I tell my son all the time, I'm like, stay away.
How old do you? You have daughters too, right?
I have 2 girls and a boy.
What are the ages?
So now they're 18, 20, and 22.
Oh, you got young adults.
Pretty much, but I refuse to say adult until they pay their own bills.
I feel that.
Which means that I might be dead.
Might not be ever. I was supposed to say shit. Might not. Mom, I need this. Mom, I need that. So I get it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I remember, this is the problem with television and media, and this is several years ago, but I remember meeting you and being like, I'm so excited to meet him, and he is not at all how he is portrayed.
Oh, yeah.
And like this easygoing, kind, like that's how I've always described you, as kind, which is 100% true, as is the other side of when you were like just focus on the basketball court.
Yeah.
Like, who was Matt Barnes on the court versus off the court?
On the court, I'm a competitor who came from nothing, and I would do anything to make it. And I always say reputation is earned, whether good or bad. And I had a reputation of getting into shit every once in a while. You know what I mean? But to me, that's what allowed me to play as long as I played and live out my dreams. Off the court, completely different. Relaxed, most of the time medicated, so I'm always pretty chill. I mean, I was some person who medicated before I played in the games, and I was someone who medicates before I go on TV or do my show. You know what I mean? So I'm always really, like, I'm fiery on the court because I'm a competitor, but off the court, I'm very go with the flow, chill, dad, business owner, fiance, just I think a night and day thing. And I think I wouldn't even say change my reputation, because I wasn't trying to change my reputation, just showing people, you know, there's other pages to the book. You got to see me for 2 hours. My first 5 years of my career, I'm on 1-year deals. So I'm not only playing for my team, I'm auditioning for the league. And I got a little bit of comfortability. year 6, 7, and from there on out, I was on multi-year deals. But it was just like I was always like having to do whatever it took to be out there. And then I was a super competitive who always had my teammates back. So you may get a snapshot of that, and you got to think social media kind of hit 12, 13, 14 heavy, and I'm done at 2017. So I really only got maybe 3-4 years of the social media era. So before, it was what was on SportsCenter, what was on Fox, and what was in the paper is who Matt Barnes is, because I didn't have a voice before that unless I was being interviewed after a game. So to be able to kind of show the other side of myself post-career through social media and through different avenues, I kind of think some people are like, oh, he wasn't the thug or asshole we thought he was. He's actually pretty cool.
Did it bother you that people thought that?
For a while it did, Sage, and I think it came to a head when with the ball fake with Kobe. Like I always kind of felt like I was the bad guy, but I felt like I became the villain then. Like people hated me, wanted to kill me. I got death threats to myself and my kids. It was nuts.
Because of who it was?
Because of Kobe. And then I end up coming to the Lakers. So at first I'm just like, damn, why do these people like... And I used to bring my kids on the road with us sometimes. And one time, one of the twins, they were maybe 6. Dad, why do they boo you when they announce your name in the starting lineup? And I was like, damn, what do I tell them? Why do they boo me? Because your dad's mean and an asshole? Something. I was just like, no. So they loved wrestling at the time. I'm just like, Daddy's job every night is to go guard the best players. So I'm guarding Kobe, LeBron, Paul Pierce, Kevin Durant, D-Wade, the list goes on. So that guy's like Hulk Hogan, but I'm the Undertaker. So my job is to like beat them and D them up. And they're like, oh, so you're kind of like the bad guy, huh? And I was just like, yeah, I am. So but when they said that, it kind of flipped the switch. Like, although I'm not a character, not acting like someone else, but if I need to be the villain to be someone who continues on this journey, like, let me be the best villain I can be. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna turn the villainness up and, kind of live up to that, because they need good guys like they need villains or bad guys. So I kind of embraced it. Yeah, it was weird.
Come to you?
It was a conversation that I had with my kids, and my kids made it okay for me. Because at first, I'd say for maybe like 2 years, I'm like, I look on Twitter and people would be like, you're a bad person, you're a thug, you're this, you're that. I'm like, I'm really not. I'm just a competitor. But like when I made up on the fly that story of when one of my twins asked me why they boo me, it made sense in my head when he said, oh, you're kind of just like, you're playing the bad guy. And I'm just like, yeah, I guess you're right. Daddy is playing the bad guy. So that's what it kind of made more like let me kind of like so-called be this character, the bad guy character. And if that's going to give me another, at that time, I was maybe year 9. If that's going to give me another 6 years, let's do it. And it did.
Yeah. That's brilliant, because kids ask really good questions,
right?
And they're genuine. They just want to know.
They really want to know. Like, Dad, why did they boo you? Yeah, but Dad, why are they booing you? I'm like, damn, I didn't really know what to tell them. And like on the fly, I told him, and it worked. And like his response made it click for me to let it be okay to be that person.
What a great lesson.
Yeah.
That little boy ended up teaching you.
Right.
And then you go out and you're like, oh, I'm going to crush this. I'm going to crush that person.
And I'm going to cuss a couple refs out. Let's go be bad.
On that note.
Right.
On that note, I was like, by the way, once you're my age, you need reading glasses, and I don't have them, so don't laugh.
I want to do LASIK.
I can hardly see. I need to go do it now. Okay, have you memorized your stats? Like the top 10 flagrant fouls in league history.
I'm in there? Yeah, I don't know I don't recall stats. I kind of have a bad memory when it comes to stuff. There's certain stuff that sticks out.
Let me help you, because I love it. I love the contrast between this and then you're the bad guy. That's exactly what this is. Top 10 flagrant fouls. You had 28 in your career and 929 games. 250 fewer games than the person at number 1. You're second all time.
Behind who? Rasheed Wallace?
No.
Dennis Rodman?
No. I don't think you're going to get this.
Draymond?
No.
Bill Laimbeer?
No.
Rick Mahorn?
These are the best names. Like
who?
Shaq.
Oh, shoot. I was number 2 to Shaq?
Number 2 to Shaq.
Hey, man, anytime you're in any kind of conversation with Shaq, you did something.
So it goes Shaq, Matt Barnes, Juwan, Oak, Dwight, Zaza, Jason Terry, Meta World Peace, Elton Brand, Markieff Morris. I was like surprised by that list.
Top 5 are all big guys. I'm only one in there that was not a big guy.
There you go.
Kind of feel proud of myself.
And number 2 in 250 fewer games than Shaq. Okay, then the next one is top.
Wait, how many did Shaq have?
1,207, excuse
No,
me.
how
Sorry,
many?
36.
And I had
And you
28.
had 28 and 250 fewer games.
Not bad.
You would have been number one if you kept playing.
Not bad.
You're like, yes, victory.
All right.
Okay, number 2, top 10 in ejections.
Oh, I could think I have like 13 or 14 of those. Close? 12?
12. Very nice.
Where-
Where do you think you rank?
Like number 6?
Exactly.
Oh, really?
Exactly.
I was gonna think. I don't think I'm top 5 because I think they've been talking about that.
Okay,
I know
so give me your
Draymond
top
is,
5.
I know Draymond's like 2. Is he? Or 3? He's close.
5.
Oh, he's 5. Oh, he's right in front of me.
He's right in front of you. Well, yeah, he's got 12. But
Rashid?
he's got 12 though, and only 667 games.
Yeah, he's got
and
it,
you're at
yeah.
929. Okay, you ready? Number 1.
Sheed?
Sheed 2.
Rodman? Oh.
He's not in the top 10.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
One of your employees, coworkers.
Paul? Boogie.
Boogie's number 2.
Not surprised.
Rip Hamilton is number 3 at 13.
Interesting.
Markeith is number 4 at 13.
Ray's
and then
5.
Draymond has 12 with only 667 games. After Matt Barnes at 6, Reggie Miller, Jerry Stackhouse. I can't see. Who's this? C. Green? I don't know who that is.
Ace, C. Green? I don't know.
It must be. I don't know. And then Danny Fortson. So these others.
remember
But
Danny Fortson.
this is very impressive. You're top 10 in those 2 categories.
Hey.
So like that's the bad guy. That's the Undertaker. That's the other one, right?
Yep.
How, like, is it something that you tried to work on, or is it something that made you great to be in it like that?
I think I had to have that chip, Sage, because, you know, going to UCLA, I was a kid that grew up. I played every sport. I literally played 4 sports through high school, so I never focused on any one. Like I went from season to season. I was a better football player than I was a basketball. All-American in both. Recruited to do both, but just saw no longevity.
Like tight end?
Receiver. No longevity for a 6'8" receiver at the time. So I chose basketball. But when I went to UCLA, we're coming off back-to-back. So Baron Davis was the year before. His class was number 1 in the country. My class was number 1 in the country the next year. So I went and it was a really guard-heavy both times. So I went from playing like a guard and working on my guard skills to being a power forward. And that's back when I was real power forward. Like I was calling the Collins Swindler. There was 7 feet, 260. I'm like 210 pounds wet. So I kind of got behind the 8 ball. So when I got to the NBA, after being drafted in the 2nd round and cut and had to go through the G League a little bit and get to the league, I had to catch up on my skill because now the way I played would fit perfect in this league because I was versatile. I literally at one point played 1 through 5 in my career at 6'8". That's what today's game is. But back then, I'm coming in the league playing power forward. So that's Kevin Garnett, Chris Webber, Juwan Howard, Dirk Nowitzki, Antonio McDyess, like Rasheed Wallace, like not even, I can't do nothing with them big dudes. So I always knew I had to be feisty and I had to be tough because I started playing against way bigger dudes. And then again, transitioned into guard skills and finally got myself back on the wing at some point. But I just had to be in it. And to be honest with you, it came natural because I came from a really rough upbringing, fighting a lot, fighting my way through racism. But I was also a football player, like I said at first. So I loved physicality. Unfortunately, when I was younger, I loved to fight. So those two like naturally made me physical on the basketball court. And I always said I was a football player playing basketball. Like I said, I was much better at football, but just chose the harder route in basketball and was able to succeed in that. But I was just more of a very physical. And I found early on, you know, it took me maybe 3 or 4 years to really start playing. But once I feel like, I don't have to be, I'm going to score more points. But if I play my role, play defense, be tough, rebound, be scrappy, and take advantage of my offensive opportunities, like I can play as long as I want. And once I realized that, and that's what I did.
What are you most proud of from your 15 years?
Just that, making it.
Like,
you know,
especially those first few years when you
bouncing
had to
around, and most guys get weeded out at that point. You know what I mean? So I just think the fact that, I was a 2nd round pick that got cut and had to take the it was the D League back then, and it was horrible. The D League route to get there and bounced around from team to team early on. But I just think the fact that I did it, when people said I wasn't supposed to or shouldn't have or didn't or wasn't this or wasn't that, like I just feel like there was no one with more heart and determination than me out there. And, I made a career off it.
Yeah. What would you change?
Nothing. I wish I would have made more money. I used to I think, I would change one thing. I used to go to better teams because I felt like if we win, everybody eats. So that means I would get it. So I turned down more money from lesser teams because I just hated to lose. But that more money now coming back to it, I probably turned down maybe when it's all said and done, maybe 10 to 15 million over my career, just taking smaller deals with better teams. So
Wow.
I think I would change that now, because out of that I only got one ring. So if I can go back and
The
be like,
very
"Ah,
end.
let me take that money instead of this." But I mean, outside of that, nothing. It was, I played on a handful of teams, but I got to play with some of the greatest players to ever play this game, some great coaches, meet a lot of great people around the court, because that's what business is about these days. And I got to live out my dream.
Yeah.
And then, transitioning within, 2 years of retirement, I'll be retired 7 years in June. Within 2 years of retirement, like, I'm getting paid to talk and be creative. I'm just like, "Oh, this shit ain't hard either." Like, so I've been be able to live 15 years professional athlete, and now I can do media until I don't want to do it too. So I mean, just to be able to work and call the NBA work and call media work, although it is work, both of them are work, but it's something I love to do. So I don't really look at it as work. I just look at it as I'm extremely blessed and lucky.
I wonder if you would have made it had your upbringing not been what it was.
I don't know. I might have not have had that fire.
Right.
And that's what it's funny you say that, because obviously the twins live behind gates and go to private schools. I was wearing shoes until, not till I had holes in my shoes, but until the holes got in my socks. And my socks started coming from the bottom of the shoes, and eating fish sticks and ramen and living on food stamps and drugs and abuse and violence. Like, all that hardened me in a way that I felt like I was ready to, whatever came my way, if I overcame this and got out of this and made it out of this, like, there's nothing you can do to stop me. So I kind of think that upbringing, although I'm in counseling for my childhood issues now, that upbringing hardened me, put that chip on my shoulder, and allowed me to go run through walls and do whatever needed to be a professional athlete.
We talk so much about the journey, and it's easy to say, this sucked and I wish, but like, it does define who we are.
Oh, there's no question.
And what you're doing even today.
Yeah.
Like, to have gone through that crap. Did you know at that time when you were a little kid that you were poor and this wasn't what you wanted to?
I didn't know until we moved to Sacramento. I was in San Jose from like birth through about 8 years old, and I was in a very poor neighborhood and went to a pretty bad school. So I didn't know, because I didn't see nothing else. We moved to Sacramento. We got a little better neighborhood, but first day I went to third grade, second grade, they took me back to the kindergarten class. And I'm like Billy Madison in here, big as shit. All these other kids are tiny. The rest of my class is playing outside, and I'm writing my letters on a little chalkboard. I'm like, when I got older, I was like, oh, so I didn't really learn too much at that other school. That was, and then now I'm with them. And again, although my parents were functioning drug addicts, they always put me in predominantly white schools, because I guess they wanted at the time to have a chance and be able to be who I was going to be. So I hated that, though, because I never got to go to school with the kids I played basketball with or the kids in my neighborhood. It was always the school that was 98 or 99% white. And although I'm half Italian and half black, like, I was dark, so I was never white enough and I was never black enough. So I fought my way to respect and friendship and opportunities to play sports. So it was tough. But again, as I started making friends, I realized, like, the first time I ate at a dinner table was with one of my white friends' family. First time I ever went on vacation was with one of my white friends' family.
What do you mean you didn't have a table?
We did. It was tiny. We all couldn't sit at it, but my dad was in the streets and my mom was cooking. We kind of ate as dinner was served, and we would eat it. And that's not to say all the time like we wouldn't. We never sat down at a dinner table together, but there was times we'd all eat dinner at the same time. But for the most part, sitting down, someone saying grace, and all the food being in the center of the table, and you kind of like that, the stuff you see on TV. Like, I never had that until I was with a white family, or my first vacation was with a white family. So I never saw the other side and never know that I didn't have money until I kind of moved to Sacramento and started hanging out and kind of befriending some white kids that obviously had their parents had some more money.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Were your parents married?
Yeah, my parents were married for 28 years. They probably shouldn't have went that long. But my mom, unfortunately, was overcome by cancer. She was diagnosed with cancer November 1st, 2007, died November 27th, so 26 days.
What? What kind of cancer was it?
It was kidney cancer that I think took her down, but she had 4 cancers in stage 4 by the time she was diagnosed. So it was, like I said, within a month, the very beginning of a season, and it was gone. So, yeah, but, my mom was the super mom. We didn't have much, you know, when my dad was gone, we didn't have a car, but she made sure that we got to where we needed to be. Our homework was done. Everyone was fed. We were dressed. We were bathed. Like my parents were functioning addicts. Like some of their friends were loser addicts, but my parents were able to kind of keep it together for us. Luckily that, you know, we were always,
Did you
bathed
witness
and,
it? Did you witness
yeah,
the drug use?
right in front of me.
And was it all of it? Like
Yeah,
all
it
of the
was. It
things?
was. Yeah, I mean, outside of putting needles in their arms, I never saw my parents do that. I saw, you know, one of their friends do it one time in the bathroom when I walked in. But, you know, I grew up I was born in 1980, and you know that was heavy coming off the 70s where everybody was doing cocaine, and then that, you know, that turned into, you know, harder drugs. So, and my parents were the partiers, so they had the people over, and you know, they just allowed me to kind of witness life at an early age, and I think that too is why I never went harder. You know what I mean? Because I saw it all
Saw
at
it.
an early age and saw how people acted and what they did and they did. And I used to smell cigarettes and hated it. But I remember my dad would come home after work sometimes and smoke a little joint. And I was just like, oh, that smells different and it doesn't stink. And then he was not that he was mean, but he was just,
Like
he was out
softer.
there. He would relax. He would kind of wrestle and play with us sometimes. I'm like, yeah, I like that smell. So when I was 14, that's what I tried.
You associated that
Yeah.
to your dad being
With the
more
memory.
present, probably.
Relaxed, cool.
Yeah, kind, more
Yeah,
kind.
talkative, playing with us as kids.
Do you think that's why you tried it?
Yeah, no, I didn't, to be honest with you, I don't really know why I tried it. I just wanted to try it. Like, I remember that the smell was the one thing that stuck me from a young kid. So I didn't equate it till I got older, this is what my dad was like when he did. He was really chill on it. I just tried it to try it. 14 years old and kind of, you know, promiscuous and out, hanging out with my friends and tried it. First time it gave me a bad headache, made me pass out. But like I said, I wasn't a quitter. I got back on the horse and eventually kind of found my lane.
Is your father still around?
My dad's still around, yep.
How's that relationship?
It's great now. It wasn't anything, which was weird because he was always there, but he was always out providing and he was a disciplinarian. So it was, you know, in the 80s, you got spanked. They would call it beating or child abuse now, but I got my fair, when my mom used to tell me, go sit in the room till your dad come home, that was the worst shit I could ever hear. Like, I could try to fall asleep, try to put a book in my butt, try to go underneath the bed. When I heard him come home and walk down the hallway, it was over. But,
I'm a kid of the 80s. I'm like 8 years older than you.
Okay.
So definitely, like, it wasn't abuse.
Mm-mm.
It was discipline, and it was not taken a car. And my youngest is now 18, and I remember when she was like 4 years old, she was mouth off. I'm getting ready to get her in the bath, and she, you know, she's always been that third child, that youngest, the baby girl, and she mouthed off, and she said something that I was like, what? And I was kneeling down, helping her take her clothes off to get in the bath, and she just looked me in the eye and said, and I went, and I just popped her little butt.
Had to.
Now, skin on skin versus skin on, you know,
Clothes or
diapers
whatever.
or clothes
Little
sounds different,
Little
right?
different.
And it wasn't hard, but it made some noise. And she looked at me and she goes, you hit me. And I got this close and I was like, I didn't hit you, I spanked you. And there's a difference. And if you mouth off again, you'll get another one.
Even harder.
And guess what? Yeah. But I didn't really have to do it again.
Yeah.
Because I believe
It's kind of like
kids,
we
kids
need it at
actually
some
want
point.
structure and
Man.
accountability. It doesn't mean beatings.
I
It
feel like
means-
maybe not to cut you off, and maybe the older generation looked at us like we're looking at this younger generation is nuts.
No, they need their ass
And
kicked.
man, they need some home training and some home
Right?
discipline. I feel like it would be a different world because you can't spank your kids now. Everything is child abuse and everything is this. And I'm not someone who wants to go around beating kids, but like you said, I mean, I have 3 biological, 1 on the way, and I have 3 stepkids. So obviously I never put my hands on my stepkids. And I've only had to spank the twins a handful of times in their years. And my baby Ashton, he's the baby, so he has a little smarter mouth and he has the vocabulary of a teenager, so I have to pop him sometimes. But I just feel like you need it every once in a while because it's a lot of this. It's a lot of too much, and I know everything and disrespectfulness, and I'm just like, no, that's not how it goes because you know that that if you don't pay attention to that now, who knows how it's going to end when they become teenagers and
When kids are
adults.
jerks,
Yeah.
it's totally the parents' fault.
No
My daughter,
question.
that same daughter, she's a hostess at a restaurant in Connecticut, and the other day, she texted me in a break. She's like, Mom, I go, oh, good, what? And she's like, thank you for disciplining me. I was like, oh boy, what's going on? And she's like, there are these kids, and she went outside and they're brats, and their mother doesn't control them, and thank you. And I was like,
Right.
oh, it only took 18
did it.
years.
I did it.
But I do believe that even though they act like they want all the independence, which they do, they also want structure
Have to.
because it also means you're paying attention,
Yes, you know
right?
what's going on.
It isn't about this. And okay, fine, we're old, fine. But I also feel like, look at the decline of where things are right now in society. And I think it goes back to that. And also just, again, a stable home, which can look very different. You know, I knew your mother passed away from cancer. I didn't know it was 26 days total. And you were playing. Where were you?
So that was, luckily, thank God every day. So that was my first year of really getting a chance to play. So that was the We Believe season. So 06, 07 was my first, like, I'm in the league in 02, 03. My first year really playing was with that Golden State team where I was in out of shot. I know I was going to be playing basketball or going to try to play football. So she saw that one year in the Bay where I was from, technically. They were in Sacramento, so they got to see every game. And then literally the following season, November 1st, when the season used to start, she died in the first month of the season. Yeah, it was quick. But some people say, you know, like, would I have rather seen my mom like decline and deteriorate and lose a bunch of weight and not look nothing like herself? Or would I rather, you know, this thing been so powerful because if she was going to go regardless, so what she had was uncurable, was I glad it was fast? So it's just like, obviously you don't want to lose your mom, you only lose one mom, but I definitely don't think I would have wanted to see my mom deteriorate and not be able to walk and not be able to talk and lose a bunch of weight. Like I would have I didn't want that to be the memory of her. So, you know, unfortunately she was taken fast, but I almost feel like that was kind of better, knowing day to day how much pain she was in, but then like she was still looked like herself when she passed.
What kind of cancer was it?
It was, kidney, liver, it was all in here.
So it ate her up.
But by the time it was on her spine, by the time they took a x-ray, because it was crazy enough, we were actually going to sue Kaiser until we found out how often they get sued for malpractice. She had been to the doctor 3 times in a year and a half, explaining that she's always tired, and she always feels sick, and they never took no scans, no blood, no nothing. So one day she had a mild heart attack, and they got her feeling a little bit better. And my dad was wheelchairing her out, and luckily they ran into the doctor that did my dad's knee replacement. And he came and spoke to my parents, and my mom's like, you know, I just had a minor heart attack today and I'm already leaving the hospital, but I still don't feel good. And like, well, let's go take an x-ray. By the time they took an x-ray, there was so much cancer. They said in her x-ray it was blurry, and she had 2 giant softball lumps in her chest. But it was all the stuff that was in here that ended up taking her.
How did she tell you?
On the phone, crying. Remember, we were playing a preseason game in Seattle back when the Sonics were there. And I remember right when I got on the plane, she had called me and she's like, are you sitting down? I'm like, yeah, Mom, we just got in. We just won a preseason game. I'm sitting down in my seat. What's up? I have cancer. Like, what? And she's like, I was like, oh, it's going to be okay. I'll get you over to UCLA. And she's like, no, baby. Like, I'm stage 4 and 4 different cancers. Like, this is it. Like, holy shit. And literally it was 26 days later.
How old was she?
She was just turned 50. And, you know, I'm 44 now, and I'm getting closer. Like, I couldn't imagine having something and being gone from my kids in the next 5 years. It'd be crazy.
How did you handle that?
I don't know. I was the rock. You know, to this day, which is crazy, I still never cried. I've still never been able to cry. But I'm the oldest of 3, so my sister's 2 years younger than me, and my brother's 2 years younger than her, and then my dad took it really hard. I think the guilt of who he was as a partner and a father at the time really ate him up. But I think, and I always tell people, I feel like I lost my mom and gained my dad, because that was the first time I ever saw my dad cry, hug me and tell me he loves me. You know, and one thing too about my mom was, as I said, I was fighting a lot when I was growing up. So when we moved to Sacramento, maybe within the first year, my mom started coming to my school and kind of being a yard duty on the break, because I was getting called nigger this, nigger that. Kids were messing with me and I didn't get it. My mom was trying to console me. My dad said to call you nigger, fight him. So I started listening to my dad, obviously, and I was getting in trouble. So my mom came and kind of volunteered at first, and ended up getting hired, and then transitioned into special ed. So she loved children. Like, she was a special ed teacher before she died. And I was just like, the stuff she went through and put up with, but she just loved kids. And it's crazy because, you know, they say in death comes life. So literally a year after my mom died, the twins were born. Same month and everything. They were supposed to go, if my if their mom would have went full term, it would have been right around the time my mom died. But they came, they came 6 weeks early. So
But your mom
didn't get a chance to meet him. Mm-mm.
Does that weigh on you?
It does. When I think about obviously how much he loved kids and how amazing the twins are, and then obviously, all my, kids to learn. I would say it's not even in a bad way, but one of the most challenging things I think I've had to learn how to be is a stepdad, because it's different. Because I'm a free willer. I cuss when I speak, and I don't mean if I tell my kids to get their ass down here, they don't, oh my God, Dad said ass. Like, they just know to hurry up a little bit more. That's just kind of the way I talk. But dealing with, obviously my fiance and I are together, but another man's children, it's just like, I don't ever want to disrespect that line. Although they're really my kids. We have them all the time. I still just that balance of them kind of still getting to know me. Although, our daughter's 12, other son's 10, other son's 9. So I've been with their mom for the last 6 years. So I've known all of them since they were 3, 4, and 6. So more than half their lives, but it's just like finding that balance and understanding how to implement discipline, understanding how to talk to them and read each of them and understand each of them. And then if they're having attitudes and moments, it's maybe because they don't get to see their dad a ton, you know what I mean? So it's just kind of finding that balance of, I see my twins every other week, and Ashton, our ones we have together, I see every day, but being able to kind of balance and how to talk and how to still get my point across and how not to let stuff slide when they're not 100% your kid. It took me a while to kind of find the balance as a stepfather. Mm-hmm. But like you said, kids need discipline. They want it discipline, even though they may not admit it. So it's just kind of being able to find that discipline and structure within stepfatherhood, which is, to me, a lot different than fatherhood.
You said something earlier that I don't know that I'll ever forget. You lost your mom.
Gained a dad.
You gained your dad.
Uh-huh.
How?
I think my mom's death woke him up. He was open for the first time in our lives. It's the first time I ever seen him cry. First time I recall, I was 27 at the time, like him hugging and saying he loved me and appreciated and just kind of admitting his faults as a father and a partner. And to me, I was to the point of it's never too late to be a dad. Mm. You know what I mean? So I was very forgiving and very open and all good with that. And it's been almost 16 years since my mom passed, but we're great now.
Really?
Talk often. He's a great grandfather. I mean, he's got 9 grandchildren, 8 boys, 1 girl, and another boy on the way. So he's a great papa to all of them, because I kind of feel like he's using that as a second chance to kind of be what he's learned since. So yeah, unfortunately, I think that was kind of her doing before she went off into heaven, was to wake his ass up and make sure he's present, because she was no longer going to be with us.
How has he dealt with that? Like, has that been difficult for him to kind of forgive?
For him for a while.
Himself?
I think, he went into a deep kind of, I don't even share his business, but like, again, I'd like to be open, because I had to kind of deal with it. He went into a drink. He drank a lot, and he wasn't really a drinker. He went into like a deep drinking phase for maybe 6 to 8 months, and I think he was feeling guilty. Obviously, missed my mom, missed his wife, but then kind of coming to the realization, okay, like how do I better myself now? Okay, like I got all this out. We've obviously forgiven him as his children. My mom, him and my mom had their peace before, she left. So I think he had to forgive himself. And then how am I going to be better? And I think, again, it's been 16 years since I lost my mom, but he's been great ever since. And again, if you're going to have to lose your mom, at least to have a dad wake up and be super dad after that was a blessing.
Why haven't you allowed yourself to cry?
Man, I don't know. I just think, I feel like as a man, it's our job to, and I came from an era where emotions and feelings, and that's what I'm in counseling for now, like they weren't, suck it up. There's no crying, there's no complaining, there's no excuses, like, okay, and like I said, to be able to make it out of what I made it out of, it just made me tough, and it hardened me. And, I wasn't as attached with my feelings. I get paid to talk, and I'm a great communicator, and I'm a great talker, but I'm not a great communicator of my feelings to my partners. You know what I mean? I realized that in my first marriage with the twins' mom that I go silent because I grew up with abuse and violence and always arguing, so I don't want confrontation. You mean, so I'll let something fester until I blow up and really start yelling. And I was just like, well, that's not the way to deal with it. So really kind of seeking counseling first as an individual, just to kind of figure out what it was. Like, why am I silent? Or why am I in a bad mood? Or why every once in a while I'll blow up and cuss her out? Like, why? And they're like, well, it's probably because of your childhood. I'm just like, what do you mean? Well, what was your childhood like? And I tell them, like, I'm surprised all you do is yell. You know, and I'm surprised you're still here. I'm just like, holy shit. And just kind of start unpacking my childhood. And
What made you go make that phone call?
Because I wanted to. You
Like
know,
something
my fiance.
Oh.
She's a great communicator. And I wanted to be able to meet her on that level. You know what I mean? To be able to articulate my feelings and say them when they're supposed to. Because I'm someone who's hard-headed, Sage. Like, we'll get an argument and I know what I can say to fix it or do to end it, but I'm hard-headed. And we'll go a couple days as just ships passing in the night because I'm so hard-headed. So just understanding that, you know, I want to be better. You know, I want to be better. I want to be able to look at myself in the mirror and be like, okay, like, you're not perfect, but you're real and you're working on the deficiencies or flaws you feel like you need to work on. So that was one of the main things, especially in the Black community. It's just like, there's no such thing as crying. There's no such thing as your feelings. There's no such thing as mental health, as DeMar DeRozan and Kevin Love and all these guys were so brave, Paul George, to come out and speak about it. That shit didn't happen in our neighborhoods. Like, you were crazy or you were a crybaby. Like, there wasn't mental health back then. So I wasn't either. Definitely wasn't a crybaby. I wasn't crazy. So just kind of was what it was. And like I said, when I got into just turned 44 a couple weeks ago, got into my 40s and just kind of looked in the mirror like, what do I want to get better at? What do I want to accomplish this next 10 years? What's some shit I need to fix? I'm just like, well, how about that? And again, with my partner, she made me want to be better in those spaces. And so I sought help and started individual and transferred into couples counseling, and it's something we're still doing. And you know, Sage, you know, shit happens sometimes, but relationships are hard work. And I feel like I was passionate about basketball. I worked my ass off in basketball. I'm passionate about media. I worked my ass off in media. I love my fiance. I'm passionate about her, but I put that same work and energy and effort and study and watch game film on my relationship, and I felt like I didn't. You know what I mean? So how do you put that and prioritize that, and how do you fix things? And obviously communication is key to everything, and that was something, again, I get paid a ton of money to talk. I wasn't good at communicating those feelings. So how do you get better at that?
And then we don't want our children
to pick up those habits.
Right. And so how do we stop that cycle?
Yes.
And so what conversations do you have with your boys in particular?
Respect. Because I'll tell you now, and this is not even talk about her, but my ex-wife is still a knucklehead at times, and just really tit for tat, and will do stuff because she knows she can't affect me, so she'll do stuff to the boys to try to affect me, and I'll tell them, like, first and foremost, never disrespect your mom. First and foremost, but you guys are 15 now, and she has to at least take in consideration how you feel or what you want to do or your thought process. So that's kind of our conversation. You know what I mean? It was very well publicized, our divorce and our breakup and what happened after that. And, you know, I've been able to personally move on, and she's been moving on, but we still go through these lulls for some reason. I'm just like, it's been 9 years, what the hell? But, you know, again, sometimes it'll be weird stuff with the boys, and I'm just like, okay, I maybe still be going at it with your mom, but you better never disrespect your mom because she's your mom, but tell her how you feel. Speak your mind. Don't be afraid to tell her how you feel. So it's just kind of those conversations that, again, it's conversation. It's speaking your mind, understanding, because I didn't come from my dad didn't really teach me too much anything. I saw, like, he was an athlete, so I loved football because he played football, and then he was in the streets, so I loved to fight. But that was the only thing. It didn't teach me love. He didn't teach me how to hold a household down, how to be a dad. I didn't learn none of that from him. Like, I learned kind of what not to do, I think. So that's why I try to be super dad now, and now that he and I are great, but I want to be able to apply these principles to not only my kids, but obviously my stepkids, because they're my kids too. Just to, how do you be a man? How do you run a household? How do you communicate? How do you set boundaries? How do you set rules? You know, how do you articulate, or how do you discipline when discipline is needed, you know. So I'm still learning, you know,
I hope you
but
give
I'm
yourself
enjoying.
some credit because you've chosen to dive into this
Yeah.
and to address it
Agreed.
and to like own it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've read how you said you want to be more accountable and you also want to forgive yourself for some things. How are you, first of all, what do you want to forgive yourself for?
You know, just when you start looking, I don't know, like I guess when you get a little bit older, you start looking back, you know what I mean? And what I've had a lot of personal things happen that kind of became public on and off the court, and being able to find because, you know, some people, it's always someone else's fault. She's this, or he's that, or he did this. But being able to find, okay, I could have did this better. If I would have communicated like this, or maybe I didn't do that, or maybe if I wasn't so hard-headed, this shit wouldn't have went left. So how do you go back and see your faults, forgive your faults, and then how do you apply that so they don't happen again? So, you know, obviously a failed marriage is, I failed at marriage the first time. It's common for athletes, but still, it's just, I don't like being a statistic or a number. Like, I failed, and then I feel like there was times where I missed a lot of time with the twins. How do you apply that to the next time around? Because I still have bad habits from that first time around with my ex-wife. So how do you see those flaws and fix those flaws? Because again, no one's perfect, and I've made some of the similar mistakes I made in my last relationship, but instead of I'm an athlete, I make a bunch of money, she did this, it's her fault. Like, nah, like look in the mirror, like, nah, that was you this time. Like, how do you fix this? Or how do you not do this? Or how do you stop doing this? Or how do you get your point across without having to yell or cuss? So it's just, again, it's always, yes, I did want to do it because I wanted to be better, and I found a woman that made me want to be better.
Wow. You mentioned so much being public, and obviously the way that marriage ended, the involvement with Derek Fisher, all of those things. Again, everything's so public, which is so difficult.
There's no skeleton, you know, and that's why, like, I'm really like an open book. Like, there's nothing you're gonna like, oh, he had stuff hiding. You see all these entertainers now and musicians now that stuff's coming out the cloud. Like, unfortunately, my shit has all been
all
here.
there.
Here, judge me.
Yeah.
Look at it, you know,
Yeah.
so there's nothing like behind me hiding.
Maybe that's a silver lining. But again, when it comes back to the boys who are 15, and so you have the marriage and their mother, most importantly, and I love the way you're saying to continue to respect her no matter what is between you two. That's so crucial with divorce. Domestic violence, public, that was public. Issues with a police officer. And you even had the issue recently in February when you're passionate because your boy's playing and whatever's happening with that.
Right.
And you owned that you should never have touched the young broadcast, blah, blah, blah. When all of this stuff is very public and it goes right back to, Matt Barnes, the hothead.
Stereotype, yeah.
Right back to all that. Your boys now, thanks to the internet and thanks to this being very recent in February,
Right.
they read it all, they see it all. What do you tell them with all of these things that are not in the closet, they're out there?
When we were going, I'll backpedal, because obviously this stuff with Derek was very public, and I was honest with them. I was very honest. It's just like, you know, Mommy and I broke up, and Derek was a friend of mine, and Mommy and Derek started dating. And I felt like one of them should have told me. I shouldn't have had to find out with someone else.
Devastating, Matt. Like, can I just say that?
Yeah.
That is devastating, and I've always been like, I don't know how you didn't do more.
Yeah, well, I mean, people don't understand. I mean, Sage, you know, like, although we were divorced and completely separated when it started happening, like, people die for stuff like that. You know what I mean? And I don't ever wish that on no one. And Derek and I are completely fine now. I wouldn't call it friends, but we definitely communicate for the sake of the boys. He's their high school coach. Like, there's zero issues there.
That's a lot still, high school coach.
You know, so it's just like, I talk, you know, and maybe Daddy didn't need to do that, and maybe I didn't need to go back to the house and do that, but I was very frustrated at what happened. So this happened in 16, so they were 8. So very aware of what's going on, and really what made me squash the beef with him is because, you know, I used to ask him all, you know, how are things? Are you okay? Like, how do you like Derek? And they loved him. He's great, he's this, he's that. And to me, that's all because I was past the relationship with her. Like, our ships had sailed, I'd filed for divorce, we divorced, we were done. But, you know, obviously the next most important thing is, how are your young sons? Because I'm still playing at this time. So I pulled him to the side and just like, you know, explain why I did what I did and why I did it. But I was just very real with them. I'm just like, I'm still playing, so you're going to see my kids more than me. You have to discipline. You have to be the father, a bonus father. You have to show them how to become good young men, and together we're going to raise these boys. Because again, I was past the relationship. I didn't care no more about him and her. Like why I got mad initially is because you're around my kids and you didn't tell me. Like, granted, that was my ex-wife, and you can say what you want about that. Like, I'm a lion when it comes to my sons. You know what I mean? So to be around them and not tell me, and I had to find out another way, like I wasn't cool with that. But he explained.
Did he own that?
Yeah, he explained his side, I explained my side. We shook hands and we've been cool ever since. And that was the summer after it happened. So it happened in the preseason, and that summer we'd squashed it. And everyone to this day, you guys don't like each other? Like, I don't have a problem there. Like,
if he's good to my babies,
that's it. That's all that matters to me. You know what I mean? So that was kind of it. And then kind of fast forwarding to more recent things, I think I look at it overall as, if you don't take the time to get to know me, I don't care what you think. And it took me a long time to get there. And the fact that I am a public figure and I am on TV and I do this and I did play that, Sage, now everyone has a voice with social media. And if I sat back and worried about what everyone said about me, I would never be able to do anything.
No.
So I only care about, if you don't take the time to get to know me, then I don't care what you think. So I care about what my circle thinks, what my close friends, what my family think, what my peers think of me. Like, I don't care what a stranger, because again, you're getting a piece of me, and I'm not perfect, neither are you, but your perfect isn't on TMZ. My imperfect is on TMZ or on SportsCenter or in magazines, and other people aren't perfect, but unless you're a celebrity or athlete, it's your mishaps happen kind of amongst your little bubble. So I feel like, to be honest with you, this is not even conceited to know me, is to love me. Like, I feel like I'm a good person and I'm a cool person. I'm very down to earth. I'm very humble. I can do my own grocery shopping. I fold laundry. I wash clothes. I wash dishes. I change diapers. Like, I'm a super regular dude. I just happen to play basketball for a long time. So I think to answer your question is, like, there's so much outside noise and negativity in social media in the world today that I just, I'm optimistic. I'm always looking at the glass half full and counting my blessings instead of worried about what people that don't know me think about me.
But that's an exercise to get there.
Oh, it's hard. Super hard.
And when you're playing and people are criticizing how you play.
Everything you do.
Every single thing.
The way you answer questions, how you played, what you're doing. Okay, I've got to plug a divorce now. So who is he dating now? Like, everything was kind of front news. And it's very hard to get there. And really, I think it's just growth as a man. Me evolving as a man. It's like, I can't fault myself for how you think about me. I can't sweat how you, like, I'm not going to lose sleep. If I allow myself to lose sleep over what a stranger thinks, I'm going to be lost.
But when you're little, and I'm not beginning to wrap up, when you're little and you said it earlier, you're not black enough, you're not white enough, you're the only one in the classroom or in the school. Like, we have lived the same life in that way. And I do think that inadvertently affects you going forward quite often.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes there's a lot of benefits to that because I feel like I had the best of both worlds growing up. Honestly, that diversity that everybody wants.
Yeah. I've seen the best. I think you've seen the best and you've seen the worst from both sides.
Correct.
Because hate doesn't just come from white people. Black people hate a lot. Everybody hates. You know what I mean? So to be able to see the best and the worst from both sides, I think obviously shaped us and helped us have a better understanding. But it's just, it's tough being biracial because, like, there's no real, obviously biracial is a lot more common now. Everyone is mixed with something. Like, coming up in the, late 70s, early 80s, like, there was almost a line in the sand. Like, are you white? Are you black? Are you Asian? Are you Mexican? Like, what are you? My mom's Italian and my dad's black. Huh? You know what I mean? So I'm fighting kids calling me nigger on the playground and not letting me play kickball. And then I'm fighting basketball because I always went to the inner city to play basketball. I'm fighting kids calling me white boy. You know what I mean? So it's just like, damn,
Even if they
do I
didn't know
ever
your
get a
mom,
break?
like even with me, if they didn't know my mom, they saw my hair.
Something, yeah. You have good hair and skin, and that's what. And
Skin.
now it's funny you said that because I mean that's what I kind of felt when I first got to the NBA. Like, who's this guy with tattoos and good hair, and like he must be something. So a lot of people would try me because they thought that he's light skinned, like and that's a
why-
real
why
that's
is-
a real conversation.
I will
You're getting
never-
worked up, but that's a real issue.
It is. No, but it makes
Super
me mad.
issue.
It makes me mad because this is my opinion based on my experience.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other community
Nope.
that does that to their own, like than the Black community.
Nope.
Why?
Who knows?
But I must say this, and we each have a different experience. It has taken me all these years, and I'm 51.
I still don't get it. I don't know if we'll
Not
ever
only
get
do
it.
I not get it, I refuse to accept it
Yeah.
because it's hypocritical.
Mm-hmm.
And then we crush on white people for, well, you're racist, you're that. Racism is racism. And when I'm not good enough because of how I speak, because of my hair, because of my mom, well, because that is wrong. And actually, we are the definition of diversity,
Right.
because that white mother of yours, that beautiful white mother of yours, fell in love with that black man. My white mother was disowned by her family. She had to make a choice between her family and that black man, and guess what she chose? So to me, that shows strength and acceptance and tolerance and diversity. And Matt, I'm done
Yeah.
being told that I'm not enough because of this.
Yeah.
And so if we don't start to call the hypocrisy,
Bullshit.
how does it change for your kids?
you're right.
For anyone. So
Right.
what is the answer to that? Because you lived a different, I didn't grow up in the inner city. I didn't grow up being called the N-word until much later.
Mm-hmm.
It's not okay
Yeah.
that you have to be fill in the blank and think a certain way and vote a certain way and marry a certain way in order to be black enough. What is that?
Bullshit. Plain and simple. And I don't think there will ever be an answer to it. You know what I mean? And I think some people try to damn near kill themselves trying to figure it out or fit into a certain mold. You know what I mean? I faced my senior year of high school, predominantly white school. Kid called my sister a nigger, spit in her hair. She's a sophomore, I'm a senior. I'm 2 months from going to UCLA. First time you mess with her, go tell the principal. Second time, go tell the principal. Third time, he spits on her and calls her a nigger, so her and her friends come find me. The kid happens to walk by. I do what a big brother's supposed to do. I end up getting suspended for a week, but as we're in the office, my sister has spit in her hair. He called her a nigger. He's been harassing her. No, his dad's a prominent lawyer in the city. He wasn't raised that way. So now I'm just a bully about this. So long story short, suspended on Friday, suspended the whole next week. On Thursday of the following week, my school was vandalized by the KKK. Burned down a building, burned down a bathroom, hung a mannequin with the noose on his neck, die nigger with my football jersey on, swastikas everywhere, niggers must die, everywhere. And up until that point, so he's like, to this day, I'm still very proud to be Italian and black. But up to that, when I was 17 and about to go to UCLA, I found out they look at me as a black man. Not mixed, not white. They look at me as a black man. And that was when I realized, still, for a while, that side of me had me looking at white people different. And I had a ton of white friends, still to this day. Some of my best friends are white from high school and elementary school even. But it just had me looking at people a different way. And then to further that, they had a green light in my head, tried to kill me, wanted to kill me, so we had to move to a different city. This is all my senior year, right before I come to UCLA. So it's just damn. They're sick people. Like I said, I've seen the best. First family vacation, first time eating at a dinner table with all white friends. Now, they weren't my family white friends that took me in and kind of, but then I've also seen white people do this. And then again, who do you run to? Early on, AU, basketball. Oh, look at that white boy. I'm like, white? I'm brown. I don't look white. You know what I mean? My dad says that's racism too. Fight him. So my dad's answer to everything was to throw hands. But, my mom was always trying to explain and in love and console me. So I would get the love and understanding. And then I would get the, nah, we don't do disrespect. You know what I mean? It's funny how you said that your mom had to choose her family or your dad. My grandparents, who ended up being amazing, they didn't accept my mom's kids, us, until I was 6 years old.
Same thing.
6
Same
years
thing.
old. And then after that, they were amazing. Every Christmas, every birthday, they would send the majority of the gifts once they accepted us, but they didn't accept those little mixed babies until I was maybe 6 years old. Like, these are old school. Her dad was a cement layer Italian, mom Italian, cooked food from scratch, still got recipes, like Italian. Italian and blacks don't mix. You know what I mean? So like, my grandparents don't accept me, my brother and sister until they were little, but I was like 5 or 6 years old.
Same exact age that I was
Yeah.
when my mom's parents, who disowned her, came back. And you know what? Again, these are people who would be about 106 right now. So a different generation
time.
completely. It's not an excuse. It's just the truth. It's just the facts. And what did they do? They chose to grow and to say, oh, wow, admit they're wrong and that they were close-minded. And then it ended up being this beautiful thing. Doesn't mean anybody forgets, especially my father and my mother. They did not forget.
No.
But they grew from it and then created this beautiful family. And I don't mean beautiful by looks, but just by us loving each other. Family.
Just the dynamic of family.
And then if we don't have a fear to talk about this, then to me, that's where the growth continues, is if I'm not afraid to talk about when I was a senior in high school and backed into a corner and called the N-word. I was the only black student in a school of 2,000 and backed into a corner, go back to Africa, you monkey, all of the things. And I hid it for years and years and years and years. And you just want to be accepted by somebody. And then I didn't talk about it because it was painful.
Yeah.
And then you do talk about it. And then, okay, if nothing else, it's not for sympathy.
Yeah.
It's like, this happened, this is how I grew. To my kids, here's a lesson. They look, because I'm half white, half black, and then their dad is all white. So they look like Italian. They look, they look white, Spanish, something. But I need them to know what's out there. And so that's the beauty of the shit we went through, is that we can teach lessons.
I don't know how you feel, but I'm very thankful. And this may sound crazy, and some people may take this wrong way, but for everything I went through when I was little, I'm glad you can't look at my kids and tell what they are. Because I don't want them to go through the shit I had to go through. You know what I mean? I'm glad. My boys have curly hair now, and obviously they have certain features, and they know my sons because they know me. But if you didn't know them, you couldn't really tell what they are. And now mixed is very common.
It's different now.
Very common now. So I remember them growing up and when going through a phase with just straight hair, and then their hair got curly. But I'm just like, damn, I used to look at them and I'm just like, I'm so glad people can't tell what you are, because I would never want you to have to go through this shit I went through at 8 years. Like, I cried because, like, these kids didn't want to play with me because of the color of my skin. I didn't get that. Like, what the fuck? Like, and once I had to beat enough people up and start letting me play, like, I was the best at kickball, basketball, football, baseball. I was really good, but I had to fight to get there. And I'm just like, I used to come, I'm like, why don't these kids like me, Mom? And she would always console and almost cry sometimes. And my dad's like, no, get that. If they do this, do that. Like, oh, I'm not gonna get in trouble. So I had to fight my way to friendship. I had to fight my way to acceptance. And sports was, I feel like, once they kind of let me, okay, we'll let him in because we don't want him to beat us up no more. But once they saw, like, man, he's good at this, he's good at that. Like, I felt like I kind of got to spread my wings because I was good at everything growing up, and they got to see the person instead of seeing the color of my skin.
Look at how much you've grown.
Yeah, a lot.
Like, even just since you retired, I feel like you're the same person that at least we saw from a distance, right? You still have that passion, but like, you're working on yourself.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think I have to, and I think for the sole reason, again, crap my fiance. I mean, I love her to death, and she's made me want to, but also I have kids, I have little people that I made looking at me every single day, so they see everything. Say, it's like, I made a mistake in February. Now, granted, that kid shouldn't have said what he said to me, and the lady shouldn't said what she said to me, and because I was only talking to the refs, but I saw within that, okay, maybe I could have handled this a little different.
Wait, why were you up off the seats, out of the seats?
Because the foul calls were, so Crespi, Harvard. So first of all, Crespi hasn't been good in a while. They were picked to finish 8th in the Mission League. The Mission League is one of the most competitive leagues in the country. Sierra Canyon, Notre Dame, Harvard Westlake. So the Twins are freshmen playing varsity, and their school has a hell of a season, make the playoffs, and they're playing in the championship for Harvard Westlake. And Harvard Westlake's a big school in LA, and they won open division and everything. The foul calls at the end of the game were 23-6. So I'm yelling at the refs. And Sage, you know me, I yell at the refs, and I used to get fined $2,500. Now I don't get fined shit. So I'm always,
So you're up in their face.
always going to yell at refs. That's just my thing. So that's just kind of me. So I was yelling at the refs because it was
You were on the court.
It was home cooking. No, I was on the sideline still. I got up out of my seat, but I was still on the sideline. But it was just home cooking. It was blatant, and they were just calling dumb fouls. And this team was so good. They didn't need help.
Yeah.
Crespi wasn't even supposed to be there. They finished second in the Mission League. Shout out to Crespi. Good job, Coach Fish and the rest of the squad. But it was just such bullshit that I had to say something. So I was saying something, and then I'm walking back to my seat, and this person tells me something that he shouldn't have told me. So I walk over there, and it was almost like I was talking to my son. I put my hand on his shoulder, like, who the fuck do you think you're, excuse my language.
Is that what you said?
That's exactly, who the fuck you think you're talking to? And he, no, like kind of tenses up and everything. And again, I wasn't grabbing him, jerking him, throwing around, choking him. Yeah. I literally put my hand on his shoulder. I wasn't guiding him or nothing. I was just like almost like, son, who do you think you're talking to? But again, perception is reality, and I was a bad boy in the NBA, and next thing I know, I'm beating up kids at high school games and choke slamming them and punching them. I'm like, you saw the video, you saw it in grab,
no, the
nothing.
video is very clear.
I'm so glad there was a video.
Yeah.
Because you could see.
You might have a lawsuit otherwise, because
right.
It's he said, she said.
Yeah, and then as I'm walking back, another lady says, F-U-B, and I was just like, that's what we're on? Like, they were hostile toward me, Sage, and I'm cool with that. Because I've been dealing with that as fans yelling at me as a player, but it's just like I wasn't talking to none of these people. I was talking to the ref, and they felt like they were in a position to tell me, a grown-ass man that pays all the bills, that has a bunch of kids, you feel like you could talk to me. Like, what makes you think you could talk to me that way? So, I mean, that's kind of the gist of what happened. And again, perception. And I never necessarily, I've probably spoke on it one time, and I ended up losing the NBC Sacramento Kings job. Because they didn't really do their homework. They kind of saw what they saw, and a lady from higher up, made a decision. I'm just like, my fault. I should have been better at that moment, but I just feel like I've never taken disrespect well, period. No matter who it comes from, I've just never taken it well. And I felt like the fact that I wasn't talking to their fans, to their reporters, to their players, to their cheerleaders, I'm talking to the refs. And if you know me, I've had a love-hate relationship with the refs the last however long, college, high school, NBA, and I don't get fined $2,500 no more for getting a T. Like, I'm gonna speak my mind. You know what I mean? And I just felt like. Does
the same thing happen if that's LeBron or Stephen Curry? Is the reaction the same?
No, I don't think so. Well, I mean, I don't know if they would have did what I did, walked over and put the hand on the shoulder and then said whatever. Probably not, because they're not known for. I want to say I'm known for violence, but I'm known for some shit every once in a while. I'm known for mixing some things up. You know what I mean? So I definitely think, the perception of me is what got me in that. So I think at the end of the day, like, okay, well, I built that perception, so that's my bad. And yeah, I definitely shouldn't have put my hand on his shoulder. But like, I feel like that person should have definitely not said what he said to me, and that lady should have definitely not said what she said to me. But you live and you learn, and
You're still learning. You're
still
learning.
Even at my old age, I'm still learning.
Did I hear that you're 44? Did I hear that by 50 you want to hold some sort of public office,
mayor?
Like politics?
I thought about being mayor of my hometown, and I've been into politics for a while, and I've helped pass bills on the state capitol in Sacramento, police brutality bills, and some other bills. And former NBA player Kevin Johnson was the mayor of Sacramento. Yeah. And it wasn't so much when I first took a liking to it, it wasn't so much on the politics side or the policy side. I just liked that he was cleaning up his neighborhood. His neighborhood is Oak Park, and my auntie had her throat slit and left in the gutter to die in Oak Park. So Oak Park is bad. So I saw him just kind of cleaning up things and making it look better. And I love that. And then, fast forward, he moves on, Mayor Steinberg. I've done a couple things with the current mayor. I remember when I was early 30s, I was still playing. I was like, man, maybe one day I want to be the mayor of Sacramento. One, because no one could ever think I could. But two, to really fix up where I came from, because it's still, it still needs help. I think everywhere obviously needs help right now. Where the world is right now is it's either you have money or you don't. There's nothing really in between. So I would love to be able to give back from that standpoint. Obviously now, this is when I made this goal when I had 2 kids that were babies, and now I have, 6 kids and counting. So I don't know. I'm definitely interested in politics. I'm interested in policy now, and understanding the state and local level are huge if you want to see immediate turnaround. And it's a a shit show when it comes to presidency. I hate that there's a line in the sand now if you're a Republican or you're a Democrat, which is stupid. I just think, both sides are full of it at times. Both sides do good at times. But I feel like now more than ever, if you're on one side, you're looked at one way. If you're on the other side, you're looked at it the other way. And it's almost like racism that we've faced.
It is.
So it's just, that's a whole mess and a whole nother show. But I don't know. I don't think it'll ever be fixed. I think there'll always be racism. I think,
as long as there's humanity, there will be. Like, it's not going to
because it's taught. It's taught. Love is just like love is taught. Hate is taught, which is unfortunate. So it's just like, and most of the time, when you ask someone who hates someone, like, why do you hate them? They can't give you no real answer.
I don't know.
Can't give you no real answer. So,
Matt, you have defied all the odds. You made it when everybody told you you couldn't. Literally, as someone said, you probably shouldn't even have survived good chunks of your childhood, and then you made an incredible career in the NBA. And then you're an entrepreneur and you're doing whatever the hell you want to do right now in your post-NBA career as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And most importantly, you are an incredible father, 6 going on 7, one daughter, and it's about to be 6
Another
boys.
boy. Oof, she took the news hard.
And your mind is open to continuing to help and change, maybe in politics. Like, if this all ends tomorrow, and it won't, you've got about 50 years left.
Yes.
Like, what are you most proud of? Because I don't even know you that well, and I'm proud of you for wanting to continue to help yourself and others.
I just think to be a good person, because like I said, there's such a misconception of who I am as a person, as a man, as an athlete, as a father. There's such a misconception of who I am. Like, I'm one of the, when they say don't judge a book by its cover, and again, I've earned some of the stuff that I'm judged by. But again, it was a part of me. It wasn't who I was. So I would want to, like, if it all, when it was all said and done, a great father first and foremost, but just a good person. Because I just feel like there's a lot of, especially being in here, I've been in LA for a long time, since I was a teenager, like there's just a lot of shady, crazy, mean, disrespectful, scammer. There's just so many weird people out here. And I'm not judging no one, teach your own, do your thing. You don't find genuinely good people. And again, if you know me and you know my circle, like my circle is just like, I look out for everyone. I still at this time take care of a village. You know what I mean? I've been out of the league for almost 7 years now. Like, I feel like I beat every odd, and in the way that I've been able to move post-career, it was like I was an 8-time All-Star. Like, I was a role player and I knew my role, and that's why I lasted as long as I did. But the way I've been able to move and carry myself post-career, I'm in the same rooms with every superstar you talk about and looking at the same investments and the same opportunities, because I carry myself a certain way, you know what I mean? And my name is good in the streets, and I stand for morals and respect and discipline and stuff, and I don't do sucker shit. So it's just like, I just want to be known as, despite what you may have thought of him on the court, he was a really good, caring, loving person.
You've done that, and it is awesome.
So.
It is cool to see you giving such opportunity to so many people.
Thank you.
And being an incredible daddy, and soon to be spouse again. But you know what? Taking care of you.
Yeah.
Because we don't do that.
No.
And it's okay if it's taken us a minute.
You time is huge.
It is. And you're leading by being so vulnerable about that. You know,
I appreciate that.
Especially with purples.
I get to take these. Check out the Barnes Bunch, WeTV, April 19th. You get to see inside, a little peek inside me and my crazy family, which was a journey. Sage, real quick before we get out of here.
Yeah, the Barnes Bunch. Great name.
They pitched us Rev Run, T.I. and the fam. Like, we got pitched that, and then once we got in, it was a whole other story. They wanted to find drama, so like literally mid-show, we're just like, yeah, I'm not doing this. I don't need the money. I don't need the attention. I don't need none of this. Like, if we can't be ourselves, we're not going to do this no more. So like literally mid-show, we had to put a flag in the ground, like, yo, this, either we're going to do it how you pitched it to us, or we're not going to do it at all. So luckily, shout out to the producers. They were great, and they kind of understood our vision. So I say all to say, you get a glimpse, behind the curtains of just the day-to-day, a dad of 6 and, someone who's trying to better themselves and take care of a village.
That takes courage.
Yeah.
You're bringing the Kardashian cameras into your home.
In the house, yeah.
Okay, you asked for it.
I did. So I'm ready, though.
Congrats
on everything.
Thank you
very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being so open.
Thank you for having me.
The best.
Congratulations on the new show.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate you.
So appreciated.
No doubt.